The only major change since the last Metawatch in October has been the release of the Tyranids and Space Marine Codex. Although Space Marines recently got to a tournament final with the very underrated Vanguard Spearhead detachment. Perhaps underrated because it is sneaky. Their rankings haven't improved much though, and Tyranids are about the same. I think this could be because there are so many new detachments for people to try, people are running different ones to mix success. By the next Metawatch, tournament people will probably have figured out which ones are the best ones and the best units to take in them. But I'm really liking the diversity of Tyranid and Space Marine lists. I have now fought against every Tyranid detachment, and they're a lot of fun. So I hope this theme continues, not just for the Tyranid players, but also for the new Necrons and Admech. The numbers from the October Metawatch compared to November Metawatch are very similar. Observe. Look at the October Metawatch. Now, look at the November Metawatch. Now look at me. Now look at both the results together. Now, pause the video to take a more detailed look. Okay, that was a long pause. That was longer than I was expecting. Please don't keep me in that weird liminal state. I don't like it. The Admech and the Necrons are on 48%, which means absolutely nothing, because they're about to get a new codex with new rules very, very soon. And at least the current Index Admech detachment is going to get a big rework. The Sisters of Battle are down very slightly from 49% to 48%, while the Genestealer Cult are up from 49% to 50%. I think we can attribute this slight change to the way my last 5 faction-focused videos have been 3 Genestealer Cult and 2 for the Sisters. It may as well be that. I don't think we can go much deeper. But if we were to take an even deeper look, perhaps it is because after the Sisters' tournament victory, with the clever use of novitiates of all things, this made people take notice and counter the Sisters a bit more in tournament play, while Genestealer Cult has mostly been written off, because they're no longer one of the top performing factions that they were at the start of the edition. People were taking a lot of units, like the Clamavus, that can screen out deep striking units. They still need to be worried about fast things like the Eldar, but anything focused around anti-Genestealer Cult tactics have been taking a back seat, while anti-Eldari tactics stay as a main thought for the very top tables. But we're seeing a very nice mix there. Space Marines, Chaos, variations of Chaos. Chaos is doing quite well. But for the Sisters and the Genestealer Cult, that's about the limit of my analysis of these 2 very small point changes. If you have more ideas, simply pop them in the comments section, and on your way down, please press the subscribe button. It should light up and flash with sparkly lights. The Deathwatch have fallen down hard. That is the main takeaway I can see from these 2 different Metawatch results. They have gone from 51% near the top to 46% near the bottom of the list. The changes come with the Space Marine Codex. They don't get the reroll to wound anymore from Oath of Moment, and they need rerolls to hit less than any other Space Marines because their Deathwatch veterans have inbuilt rerolls to hit, and units like their Proteus kill team are hitting on a 2+ anyway against the majority of things. But they also lack internal synergy. This is because a lot of characters can't join their units. Deathwatch veterans can only be joined by characters that can join Vanguard veterans on foot. As that unit is in Legends right now, the Codex Space Marine characters don't mention it as a unit they can join, so there is no chance for the Deathwatch to get stacking bonuses from characters. A key part of the army synergy gets missed out on their chapter-specific better units. They are also the least played faction in the entire game. Now, Games Workshop has stated that they plan to improve internal balance of factions as their main goal for January's balance patch. A Deathwatch fix may be part of this. But their stated intention is to make other viable lists for different factions. So it's not, oh yes, if you're playing Sisters, you have to take 3 Exorcists, a Palatine with the Blade of St. Eleanor, some Seraphim with Celestine, and Morin Val with Paragon Warsuits. I mean, there's more than that. I think there's a lot of usable units for both the Genestealer Cult and the Sisters. But as you know from my tier lists, a lot of units do the same job, and some are just so much better at it than others. There are also some detachment rules that don't scale in power to the level that other detachments do. We Sisters and Genestealer cultists don't have this luxury because we have only the index rules with 1 detachment each, but the Crusher Stampede is quite bad. Blood Angels are underperforming with the Sons of Sanguinius detachment, and the Space Wolf detachment is also pretty bad. This is a good thing. But they are doing much better with the Stormlands Task Force, which gives their wolves, not those wolves, the bigger wolves. No, not the wolves in armor. The wolves on top of wolves. Yeah, those ones. They get more speed and durability. Internal balance has been a big thing for the sisters in the past with detachments. In 8th edition, the majority of tournament lists were Valorous Heart. In 9th edition, you could not move for Bloody Rose. If you weren't taking Bloody Rose to a tournament, you were not intending to win. Currently, we don't get a choice. We have the Martyred Lady style detachment, and that's it. If we could greatly improve several of our characters so that they can join more units, that would be great. We have a Canoness whose rerolls can be very effective, just not so much on the units that she can join. If, like a lot of other factions, we could have our Captain level character and our Lieutenant level character in the same unit, that would make an amazing Battle Sister squad. Rerolling hit rolls with lethal hits, yeah, that's awesome. But then we wouldn't need the Novitiates, who also have rerolls to hit. But a Canoness being able to join Retributors would make Retributors a very good choice, as long as they were with the Canoness. We are plagued by anti-synergy. Who is anti-synergy? It's where you combine two different abilities and both those abilities give you the same thing. Or it's where we get bonuses we don't really need that don't help the core of the army. It's like the Dark Eldar Archon ability is really good, but he can't use that ability in a Raider, which is usually in Dark Eldar lists where you're going to have him. The most obvious example for the Adepta Sororitas is the Missionary. He gives Sustained Hits 1. He can join Arco-Flagellants, who already have Sustained Hits 1. And Sustained Hits 1 doesn't stack with Sustained Hits 1. Now imagine how good that could be if the Missionary could join the Repentia. Currently, no characters can join Repentia. The Imagifier gives a 4+ invulnerable save, and she can join Sacrosanct, but they already have a 4+ invulnerable save. So she has an extra rule to improve their save by 1. Something that we can get for free against shooting by being near a wall. Yes, I know that doesn't work against AP 0 shots, but it's a points investment for very little gain. The Immolator gives reroll to wounds, but Retributors reroll 1s to wound anyway. Now this is definitely an upgrade, but it's trying to use one ability to overwrite an ability that already is very, very similar. And though this is a use for Retributors, I prefer other units in Immolators. And for the Genestealer Cult, the Ridge Runner can have an Augur to let Genestealer Cult units ignore cover, but if those Genestealer Cult units have just come from underground, they ignore cover anyway with a detachment rule. Now more detachments are going to come along with different detachment rules, so this Augur is going to become more useful for other detachments. But it's an anti-synergy. We're using an extra ability to do exactly the same thing. But balancing detachments is going to be difficult, and I wonder how much energy Games Workshop is willing to put into that. When the Genestealer Cult get new detachments in another half a year, they may struggle to have something better than Ascension Day. I would love to try out something else, but unless we see heavier point reductions on Metamorphs, very heavy point reductions on the Magos, and some on the Genestealers, battle line units that get a bonus from our army special rule, not the detachment rule, they will continue to be the way to go for Genestealer Cult lists. And battle line units get even more buffs in the stratagems of the detachment, like 2 battle line units can go back underground with Return of the Shadows. The detachment gives us a lot of maneuverability, we can counter shooting armies well, and we can escape from close combat armies unless they are such a haul that there was always an Orc or Tyranid unit nearby to attack us. So unless your army is very, very heavily skewed towards one playstyle, like Mechanized, and there is a Mechanized detachment that helps all of those units, the Ascension Day is going to be the best for all of us. Much like the Invasion Swarm is considered the best for a lot of Tyranids, even if you have a lot of monsters and Carnifexes, and you could run a Crusher Stampede, the Invasion Swarm may be better for you. And unless you have the Dreadnoughts for the Ironstorm detachment, Gladius is probably best for most Space Marine players' armies. Getting that internal balance is what is most important to me, so that all of the units that I have painted up lovingly can be used. Thinking I need to leave the Magos and the Retributors on the shelf is more annoying to me than knowing that Space Marines are going to have more optimized points than Sisters. So I am glad that Games Workshop is having more of a focus on that now that the board is looking more, fixed? Improved. We'll say improved. And at a tournament level. You can still get absolutely stomped by Drukhari in a casual game. The Eldari are still a problem, but they, Drukhari and Custodes, are on the list for changes. Drukhari have the least internal balance and synergy of all of the factions. But for now, I will leave you with advice for Genestealer Cult and Sisters in tournaments, since these Metawatch win rates are all about tournaments. And remember to click the subscribe button, but most importantly, my darlings and viewers, have fun.